Fun. Well, good morning. Thanks for joining me today. With me, I have Karna Germsheid and Johnathan Clarkson, who both have had the privilege of working with in many occasions over the years. Karna and I have probably known each other probably almost 20 years through different sport and relationships. And Johnathan, I've known probably almost 10 years through being a ski parent as well as a volunteer, a lot through the ski hill, but also on a personal level of the work that he does with the Regional Tourism Association. So I'm just going to give you each a little bit of time here. If you just want to introduce yourself, I'll go with Karna first.
Thanks, Jackie. My name obviously is Karna. I'm the Executive Director of the Grande Prairie Regional Sport Connection. Our mandate is to support the growth enhancement of sport in the region, and we are funded through the City of Grande Prairie as well as the County of Grande Prairie. And we work very closely with administration in both councils, actually regional councils, in reaching our mandates regionally for the sport community.
And just before I go to Johnathan, Karna, what is that mandate?
What we do is we promote, we support, we educate, and we advocate for sport in the region. So it could be many things, as you know. It could range from supporting sport organization with our signature events, which is our Triad Days and our Northwest Alberta Sport Excellence Awards, also the Alberta North Sport Conference. We also support organizations in managing events, bidding on events as far as sport tourism goes. We help in different ways as far as liaison between the city and sport organizations, board governance, education around coach training. We do apply for grants, and we do share information about grants throughout the region as well. So it means quite a few things, but all in all, as you know, since most of our organizations are volunteer run, we always see different skill sets around those boards. So we try to fill those gaps wherever we can in order to lift and leverage the good work that our sport volunteers are doing out in the community.
Perfect. Thanks for that. Johnathan, if you could just tell us a bit about yourself.
Most definitely. So my name is Johnathan Clarkson. So I'm the general manager at Nitehawk Year-Round Adventure Park, and also the board chair or president of the Grande Prairie Regional Tourism Association. I've been involved with Nitehawk for the last 14 years, and with the Tourism Association for the last, I guess, 6 years as chair. And then also previous to that, I was the treasurer for the association as well. And just again, multifaceted here from a tourism perspective. So obviously Nitehawk, being part of the community for the last 60 years, has played an integral part in outdoor recreation and getting people active and just promoting that active lifestyle to the region. Just as you said earlier, Jackie, your family were users of the hill and for many years, and that was where we first met. And then through the Grande Prairie Regional Tourism Association, our role as an organization is advocacy for tourism in the region, both on a provincial level and a local level with our municipal partners. And then also in marketing the region and all the things that we have to offer here for tourism in the region, right from, I guess, making light to things like the visit to the gas station when you're pulling through, and all the little things that tourism has to do with the region. It's much larger than just an attraction or an overnight stay. It's all these other things that tourism plays in the visitor economy. So yeah, happy to be involved, and thanks for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the three of us could talk for a long time. Recreation and sport is a big passion of mine personally. I've played multitude of sports throughout my life. Had an opportunity to play in a college scholarship in basketball, but played competitive volleyball, played competitive fastball, skied as a family pretty much since I was probably 6, and played soccer, golf now, did curling, pretty much tried everything. I'm happy, to be honest, to think that there wasn't phones and iPads back when I was growing up, because I'm not really a computer person in that say. I don't like video games, but I know that because there was nothing is another reason I tried so many sports. So a big advocate. Also had the opportunity to work with on the Sport Connection as a council member when it was first came to fruition. I think it was a great concept in conjunction with the county and the city to bring forward this opportunity to really connect nonprofit sport organizations with municipalities, with potential hosting committees, set them up for success. And Karna and her group does a great job of not necessarily doing the work for you, but putting you in the right direction. And you feel that say you're the speed skating club and you want to host a provincials or a nationals, you go to Karna, she'll put you in the right direction. You know, if you are a new sport starting up and you're not really sure in regards to filing your annual report, etc., Karna can set you up in there. Finding volunteer bases, that type of thing, and how to fundraise, and there's so many multitude of things. And then in regards to tourism, in my past corporate life, I was heavily involved in tourism. Have a huge amount of respect for the pillar of what it does, not only for the province, but particularly in the city. I can say that sport tourism is something that fills the ebbs and flows of natural resources in this region. And I know in a hospitality perspective, from working in a hotel industry, that when oil and gas was slow, or forestry or agriculture, sport tourism just continues to level out that the revenue for many, many hospitality providers. So have a lot of time to talk anytime about sport tourism and what it provides to the region, and really think that us three understand that, but don't know if everybody always around the council table understands that, or in the community of what an impact is, especially if you're just a parent that takes your kids to tournaments and you know what it costs you to participate, but you don't understand that it's always that times 20 or that times 10, and then if there's 8 teams, and the multitude, and it multiplies really quickly, so it has significant impact. I wanted to talk about a few things in that sort of wheelhouse of recreation, sport, and tourism. Tell me, I've asked the hospitality people, and I know typically what the answer looks like, but tell me how your organizations or your stakeholders are doing. COVID has been 18 months now. It's been tiring for many organizations. I see as a sport parent what it does to the sport, or to the kids that are unable to play sports sometimes. Now they're playing, but it's limited spectators, which, so it's completely shifted. I'm happy to see that kids are still recreating, but I'm just curious, Karna, from your stakeholder perspective, and Johnathan, from your staff at the ski hill and other organizations, how is everybody doing? Is the burnout still there? Is everybody optimistic? Tell me your thoughts, and I'll start with you, Karna.
Yeah, this is a really big topic right now. And when we talk about stakeholders, we're talking about sport volunteers, administrators, coaches, but also part of our role with the Sport Connection is talk to business leaders out there and get a kind of idea, schools, teachers, where the volunteerism is. So a lot of this job is just talking to people and gathering information. And we do see a lot of behavioral shift. Yes, everybody is burnt out. We have some people that are still grinding and still committed to playing, which is absolutely fantastic and a real testament to our sport and recreation community. But we have seen some struggles in numbers as far as membership, whether that's because families are saying, you know what, until this is done or things are a little too crazy now, we're not going to commit, right? Because parents are tired of the start and the stop all the time as well. And then our organizations too are trepidatious about moving forward because of, the whole, do I need to refund? Should I refund when I book through a facility, and it could be a facility within the city or facilities in our industrial parks? They don't want to commit to too much just in case they fall down that well of, losing money. Like they saw initially when the first round came through, right? So we are seeing that. We're seeing increased behavior and engagement though in certain types of recreation. So in the winter time last year, we saw an increase in cross-country skiing. I'm sure Johnathan can speak to what was happening out at Ski Hill. Our families are using our trail systems more. And what I'd like to see, because COVID has been so hard on families, is more engagement into those free recreation opportunities as families. So we've got, new pickleball courts out. We've got 3 gorgeous disc golf courses, things like that families can engage in. But people are definitely exhausted. And when I communicate with operators, that are essentially our frontline workers, you can tell because of the frustration from families that come in and what they're receiving, being on the receiving end as far as, you know, how having to stop and go, and this is the new guidelines, and you're gonna have to wait for an answer for these guidelines because we don't quite have the answer yet, but this is how we're going forward. And everybody's scared of the liability as well. And of course, as a community, we all want to keep each other safe too. So when people are stuck in the misinformation trap, you know, you get a lot of polarity out there, and there's no different in any industry. I don't think we're definitely seeing in sport and recreation.
Johnathan, if you have something different to add from your perspective, great. But I guess in the same vein, I'm wondering if you, you know, tell me your experiences at the ski hill, and if there's different experiences through tourism, great. But I'm also curious, what do you think that users of facilities can do to support the staff? You know, is it the typical traditional, just good customer service? How you doing, checking in? Or is there things that as an organization at a ski hill that you really need your users to recognize with COVID changes, how your business will shift?
Yeah, most definitely. I think, you know, to Karna's point, I mean, we are all tired. We are all exhausted of again, continually having to adapt and pivot. And at Nitehawk, we've done a lot of that over this past year, not only just because of COVID, but because of the landslide that we encountered back in May of 2020. So that added into it, you know, we had to limit our capacity based on operational limits. And that last winter, and of course, that created some upset amongst our previous members and that, because, you know, I had numerous phone calls from moms asking me, what are my kids going to do? They were out there 5 days a week last year, you know, and when we were limiting our capacity and not selling season passes, that really added to that and that frustration. And so I guess in terms of what our guests could be doing for our staff, again, just being understanding and just knowing that the rules that we're having to implement to stay open and to still be able to provide service to the community aren't our doing. We're following the rules to make sure that that we can still be there to provide to the community. And I think last year and still mental and physical well-being is so important. And it's facilities like Nitehawk and other outdoor facilities, especially as we go into this winter and things are looking the way they are right now. We're going to play another pivotal role in making sure that our community has things to do to recreate and to take their minds off those worries that they've had this last 18 months. And so I think, again, just reciprocating that same thing that our staff are doing for our guests is just making sure that, you know, we're there to provide a happy environment, a fun environment. And by you following the rules and playing by them, it really it helps us do that and make sure that everybody's having fun, including our staff.
Absolutely. 2 ski hill questions before I move on. When do you start to make snow typically?
Yeah, so our snowmaking will start at the beginning of November. Also, we've got our annual ski swap that'll hopefully be coming back. We're working with Evergreen Park on that at a 1/3 capacity of their building and doing a time booking for people wanting to come in and view gear. And then, so beginning of November is snowmaking time, and then targeted winter opening of November 20th. And that also, I just wanted to touch on, you know, we also have a partnership with the City of Grande Prairie, which we've renewed for 5 years with Bear Paw Par 3 Golf Course and RV Park in South Bear Creek Park. And similar things there again. Golf courses were a recreation opportunity that people had and that were able to stay open throughout the entire pandemic just by, again, working with their I guess, top end organizations to make sure that the protocols and that were being brought forward were meeting government mandates. But I think, again, Bear Paw, same thing. We saw an increase in business there over the last 18 months and families coming out. It's a affordable option for people. And I think that's the one thing between our 2 facilities at Nitehawk and at Bear Paw is being able to provide an affordable option. It's not just for the elite or anything like that. It's an affordable option. So. And
sorry, is Bear Paw closed for the season? I should know that.
Yeah, Bear Paw actually just shut down. Just actually on Sunday was the last day for the season and that, but we'll be opening again in May.
Okay, and tell me high level what skiing is going to look like this year. People, you know, there's so many misconceptions out there in regards to, is the ski hill open? Are they fundraising for a chairlift? What's operationally, how many lifts, and what's going to look like? Show off all of it. Like, so if you've ever skied out there, tell me what it's going to look like now.
For sure. So obviously with the land side, that caused a lot of issue. So what we've been working on, and in partnership with our municipal partners, the city of Grande Prairie being one of those, and the MD and the county, the other two, we've been working on a project here that will end up seeing a T-bar lift installed to gain access to more terrain. Obviously, the return to the chairlift is more of a long-term solution here, and that is our ultimate goal. But right now, to gain access to more terrain, our hope is that this season that we will have more than what we had last year. Obviously, we're still working with engineers and everything, and I think if there's any one thing that I've learned over this whole process is that engineering takes a long time. And it doesn't move forward as fast as what I may have initially thought. And I'm sure you can attest to that, Jackie. You guys deal with engineers with the city all the time. So so this season we will have definitely what we had last year, and our hope is to then add show off and the connector into the terrain offering. So basically adding another third of our skiable terrain into the mix for this year, and then going forward. We'll be working towards a long-term plan for water management and just reopening of those other areas of the hill so that we can do it in the right way and not end up in the same situation in a few years down the line.
And sorry, is the new T-bar currently being installed?
We're working with engineering on that to get it installed. So again,
the hope is to have it for this year.
Fingers crossed for this year. No, again, not 100% guaranteed, but that is what we're aiming for. So.
Perfect. Okay, I wanted to shift a bit to sport tourism. Karna, you and I have worked on a lot of STEAM reports. And so maybe tell people what STEAM reports are at a high level. And then also if you can explain any data that you have of what tourism, sport tourism does for the region. I don't care, don't break it down, city, county, all that, but for the region.
Yeah. So what you're referring to with the STEAM is an economic assessment. So figuring out what kind of new money comes into the region because event is being hosted. So through a membership with the Sport Tourism Canada, the city of Grande Prairie actually has access to a software that can be used to predict how much GDP or new money is coming into the region. It has all sorts of economic numbers that it can actually predict. But when we focus on sport tourism, we're focusing on that money that doesn't exist. And also we're focusing on money that doesn't also leave. You know, like if you bring in a professional athlete, you pay them and then they leave. So it doesn't include that kind of money. And what we do is we collect that information so that we can advocate to our municipalities and our businesses about the importance of sport tourism, because our sport organizations, our sport administrators and our coaches aren't looking at sport and they're not delivering sport because they're thinking, oh, this is going to be great for our regional economy. That's just not how they think, right? So that's a role that we try to take on and to help people recognize that even our small events have significant impact for our regional businesses. So the dollars that are created by this machine of our sport community is really important. And one of the strongest, as you said right in your introduction, pillars as far as tourism goes is sport tourism, and it is consistent because we have organizations that have hosted sanctioned events, and with sanctioned events, people have to travel to Grande Prairie, right? So that's why it's important for us to recognize sport tourism isn't only about getting those events. Sport tourism is about the actual experience that people have when they come to Grande Prairie and they recreate. So yeah, numbers wise, it's not like I calculate, all the numbers, and we only do 3 to 5 STEAM reports a year, but, and again, they're predictive reports, but you can go like a racquetball, a national racquetball could bring in 35 to 45,000. And then you have we just did a STEAM report for the upcoming curling provincial Best of Alberta championships. That's going to be upwards of 400,000. So it depends on, is it a spectator type of a sporting event? Ages matter, right? Youth tend to bring in more people to the region because people follow their young children when their young children are participating and make an event out of it and things like that. So I think what the real information is the value that the small right to the large events bring into our region.
For sure. Johnathan, through tourism, tell me how you work with Sport Connection. Have you, has tourism, I know Travel Alberta has, but has GPRTA done any analyzing or questionnaires? So if there's an event, for example, let's talk about an upcoming provincial curling event. The economic impact is measured through the STEAM, but we want to know as a municipality or as a region if these people are ever coming back. Has GPRTA considered looking at, at the gate, quick iPad testing and analyzing visitors and that type of thing? And how do you see the future of partnerships with Sport Connection and GPRTA?
Definitely, I think a huge opportunity there, as we've all been talking about here, is sport tourism. I mean, and the number of dollars that it brings into the community, just from hotel stays, restaurants, again, gas fill-ups, visiting our stores and retail outlets, and all that. But from a GPRTA perspective, in the past, we have worked with other organizations, and Karna was actually on our board of directors as my vice president for the GPRTA, and so working closely with her there. But I really think that relationship can be built out even further, because we have worked with other organizations like the Bear Creek Folk Festival, the Grand Prairie Stampede, and that in doing just as you were saying, Jackie, going and surveying at the gate visitors coming through, so we know where they're coming from, the demographics that come from that, and the like, and just making sure that we're making that connection. So again, as we move forward with things like maybe another Arctic Winter Games bid and the like, and having that information coming in, I really think that there's an opportunity for GPRTA to work closely with the Sport Council, and also in an advocacy side of things, to our municipal partners. I think that the biggest thing is, and a lot of people don't realize it, but Travel Alberta and the province defines a tourist as anybody that travels more than 40 kilometers. So technically, somebody coming from Beaver Lodge into our community is actually considered a tourist. And I think it's really, as you said, Jackie, a lot of the council members around the table maybe don't see that connection between all these things. And right from the retail outlets, people coming in to buy their truck when they're coming from the Northwest Territories to our region, when they're coming to Costco to shop, they're also spending money to stay in a hotel over the night. They're also spending money in our restaurants. So the tourism economy and the visitor economy is a lot larger than maybe what we give it credit for. Even these people that are coming in to work in the region, I mean, are still staying in our hotels. They're still bringing money into the community. And again, if we weren't promoting to them, and if we weren't going out and selling our community, they wouldn't be here. And I think we can continue to do a better job at that, not only as an association, but even as a community. And when our council members are out talking to other people across the province and nationally, I really think that we need to be promoting some of the things that, from a tourism perspective, attractions, experiences, and that make us unique, and that really can drive that traffic into our city and into our region.
Yeah, it's interesting. From my my experience with Travel Alberta, I know their mandate, and there's a perception for sure that all they care about is the mountains and the big cities. And with the changes in their marketing plans and the matching dollars, it may seem more difficult for us to get recognition in this region. But one thing that just crossed my mind, I don't know if tourism associations, DMOs or DMFs have really done a great job of pushing Travel Alberta to support sport tourism. So thinking back, they love meetings and conventions, and they love festivals, and they love, hiking, and they love packages and that. But I was just sort of racking my brain to think, have I ever taught, the vice president, one of the vice presidents of Travel Alberta was just up this past week, and I had an opportunity to talk with Shelley at the bull riding event, and sure, that's a sport event, but it's more of an event. It's an entertainment event. But I don't know if Travel Alberta, to my knowledge, has ever supported sport tourism. Can you think of anything, Johnathan or Karna?
Nothing outside of large scale events. Again,
when Tour of Alberta was still in existence, for sure, they were a big supporter of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, but outside of that, I guess that local sport tourism, I don't know of anything there, and I think that certainly has a lot of merit. I think that that's something that we can advocate for, as a group. That when we're talking with Shelley and with David, the head of Travel Alberta, and he'll likely be here for the Growing the North conference. I really think that that we can have those conversations and really pump that up, because there is a huge opportunity, as we've all been talking here. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, I mean, for those who watch that aren't aware, the 4% that Travel Alberta collects off of every room night, in essence, goes into a pool to market Alberta and to tourism. So, you know, whether it's international conferences or buying shows where they sell packages, or if it's the ads you see in the Travel Alberta does under the Breathe or whatever that is, that 4% is collected. But then also DMOs and organizations such as Grande Prairie Regional Tourism have an opportunity to apply for some of this money. From a high level, I think that tourism associations such as Travel Alberta and nationally, TIAC, they did a great job of supporting GPRTA, and through Western diversification, GPRTA, not standalone, but organizations such as were supported to be able to continue to create tourism. And as Karna mentioned earlier in the call, we saw people access outdoor activities more, walking trails. I know Ski Hill was busy last year. I know, like you mentioned, the par threes were busy. The golf courses had waiting lists, and those type of activities were extremely busy. I hope that this winter, and none of us have a crystal ball, that we'll see a continuation of where we're at so that sport can continue to happen and tourism with restrictions can continue to happen. But, you know, I don't know what the next, few months look like. And in your opinion, are there anything that the next council should be aware of, Karna, through the groups that you're working with? Is there really a missing element? And I don't want you to tell me we need another pickleball court or we need or we need and not that we don't, but I don't want a specific facility.
Yeah.
But is there anything that you think the next council could really use as a nugget going into within the first year? They'll look at a 4-year budget. What are some low-hanging fruit that council, the city of Grande Prairie and across the region should keep in mind when they're making decisions with their budgets?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we can't have successful events without strong organizations, right? Our organizations have taken a battering. Some, of course, have been busy, but for the majority of them, they have lost significant amount of money, significant amount of membership. So intentional initiatives that fill those gaps to help rebuild the strength of these organizations, because we want, as a community, these organizations to be strong enough that they have the confidence to reach out and host events. And it doesn't matter whether it's like a regional event or a provincial or a national event, right? They need to have a certain level of success in order to have the confidence to move forward and the ability to bid on these events. So we need to first and foremost focus on how can we engage our community back into sport, right? From our tryout days, we saw a decrease in engagement from 13 to the 17-year-olds. And what I think that is, and of course, I'm only extrapolating, and this is my own opinion, but I think what we're seeing is a combination of things. The younger kids, parents are deciding to engage them and participate. The older kids are communicating to their parents, and this is through conversations with a few different moms. They're saying, you know what, I'm just not there yet. I'm just not there yet. For whatever reason, they're enjoying not participating, or for whatever reason, they've got anxiety around engaging and participating. So we really need to be conscious about our communications, right? As far as communicating that we are creating opportunities to participate in a safe space. A lot of families and kids will need to know that before they re-engage. And also our sport organizations, the ones that have been grinding, those coaches that are still creating the space, but kind of losing those memberships. We need to find ways to leverage what they're doing. So getting them into the facilities that they need, right? Allowing them maybe some flexibility in whatever agreements they have with our municipalities. So there'll be a lot of different initiatives, but my hope for the new municipal elected officials is that they recognize that sport and recreation is so incredibly valuable to our region. And we're talking sport tourism right now, but all three of us know that it's right down to sense of belonging, crime prevention, mental health, you name it. If we can impact a high percentage of our community, we will be winning. And that's what we really need to do, is just to make sure that we get them to re-engage.
Absolutely. And Johnathan, before I go to you, on that note, Karna, it's interesting you say that, because I have kids that are age 13 to 16. And I'm an outgoing person, so it was easy for me to try new sports as a teenager. But you know, especially in boys, I find they just don't want to try new things. They don't want to put themselves out there. And so they play the traditional sports. And if, like, my youngest son chose not to downhill race anymore, he'll still ski for fun. But I'm like, okay, well, let's try this. And they're at that age, 13 to 16, where they don't want to put themselves out there. And I'm not going to take total credit, but I'm pretty sure that I was there at the creation of Try It Days. And I think, though, that it'd be interesting for us to look at a new spin on it. And maybe, and this is really far reaching, but if we, you know how there's the RAP program through the high schools where kids get credits of working in businesses, it'd be interesting to talk to the school boards to see if through an older age group of 13 to 17, they got a small credit or some sort of advantage in their academic goals by trying certain sports. So whether there's a program that, you know, they all have to take gym, I get that, but it's, you know, physical, a gym is a different sort of beast. But I mean, if they had to do where they tried, you know, tried curling for 2 weeks, they tried skiing for 2 weeks, they tried par 3 golfing for 2 weeks, and whatever that looked like, and it had to be, you know, 2 hours a week, not a ton of impact on their time, so they can still work and do their other sports, but they got some kind of academic credit for it. It'd be an interesting sort of angle to get those kids out there to try things at that age group, because it's so hard to get them engaged, and especially with all the sort of other sort of deterrents, right? Whether it be social media, computers, whatever that is, it's really hard to keep those kids focused. So, Johnathan, any thoughts on that?
I was just going to say with that, actually, and it's a big part of our of what we do right now in the community, and that's the Celtics program through the Catholic School Board, as well as the Academy through the public. We're doing a lot of work with them. Kelsey Urban has been phenomenal to work with, and we've actually just what you were describing there, and maybe it's actually taking it up a notch to the high school level kids. But we're doing that right now with that, I guess, grades 4 through 7. And it's a very well attended program. The kids love it. They've come out skiing. We're doing skateboarding lessons now with them. We're doing inline skating, golf, disc golf, hiking, and that. So all these different activities with these kids, just to give them exposure to so many different opportunities, so that they can pick and choose what they want to do, and that. So I really think that has a lot of merit, but also maybe taking away some of the things that the Celtics and the Academy are already doing, and taking those learnings and just building off that. I think that there's a lot of merit there, because we do see such great attendance with those programs.
Yeah, it's interesting. And my own personal experience is obviously through boys, but I know that probably more realistically, boys come back to, men come back to sport. Whereas I feel, Karna, there's a statistic I read somewhere that if a girl hasn't tried a sport by 13, she never will. So, you know, my own experience is through boys, but I think that, you know, engaging that 10 to 13-year-old girl is extremely important, because once you get them, they'll probably stay, a percentage of them will. But that, you know, that time frame where the boys start doing sports and then they stop until they're older, and it's always sort of, I always called them life skills. Like, in my opinion, everybody should learn how to ski, to swim, but also everybody should learn how to throw a ball, because there's always going to be a community softball barbecue or something where you need to throw a ball and that kind of thing. And so, you know, as much as I also think skiing, being able to go skiing even for a day and just do green runs all day, you know, there's some sort of life skills and recreation that everybody should be subjected to. I mean, you don't have to love skiing, but you should at least try it and be able to survive a day on the ski hills. So, you know, I think those things are really important for us as elected officials, but for organizations such as yourselves to keep reminding and communicating to parents how important it is to have these life skills.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that. And I think that both you, Jackie and Johnathan, yeah, we need to think out of the box. And that's exactly what I want to see moving forward, because there's no other way to fill those gaps, quite frankly. We also need to recognize that there's been an increase in the gap between the haves and the have-nots, right? So we need to be very cognizant when we are creating opportunities or initiatives on meeting new demographics. So the Celtics and the academies have extremely high rave reviews. You're right. I have several friends with kids in it. The kids love it. I love academies and I fully support them. outside of the academy, who's not engaged, right? Those are the people that are falling out. How do we get engaged? So it could absolutely be through the academies in a different spin with credits and things like that. And we do need to be working with our school boards to figure these things out as well. But we also need to be coming to the table with the perspective that the barriers have increased significantly since pre-COVID. And even pre-COVID, we had some significant barriers. And, you know, as a sport organization ourselves, we try to advocate, as you know, for more recreational opportunities. So these are opportunities for families to get their kids engaged in a semi-formal way without having to commit to traveling time and any kind of long-term registration. So not drop-ins. I don't like to use the word drop-in because that feels like, you know, putting up a basketball net and then hoping for the best, right? Unfortunately, that's great, but great for those kids that are organized already and have the confidence to be there, right? What we need to focus on is the families and the kids that haven't been engaged because of all of those barriers. They need to go, they need to be put on teams and create a great, happy sport experience for them, right?
Sorry, Johnathan, to that point, Karna, that's one of the things I love about Try It Days. People that I know have taken it, they can't believe it's free, right? It's just such a great opportunity. And the other thing on that is, that's one of the main reasons that I was in heavy support of the new activity center in Smith, because I don't just see it as a drop-in facility. I see it as an opportunity where there can be programming that's involved, and it's going to be first time, and we don't call it beginners because then beginner assumes that you've played. Right. So we call it first time girls basketball on Tuesdays 5 to 7, and we have some Wolves coaches there that are just there for the 6 girls that may show up. But you know, and it happens on a regular basis, and if nobody shows up for the first 2 weeks, personally I don't care, because then we can go out to the community and we have to build it. They might peek their head in the first time and maybe they come the second time, but that facility, in my opinion, that activity center in Smith is the perfect facility for people to be able to try new sports. That doesn't include traditional scheduling of a tournament or a league. It doesn't put the pressure on the word beginner. It's truly trying new sports, not beginner. So Johnathan, you were going to say?
Oh, well, on that point too, I guess I want to commend the city on the bike parks that have been put in the city. I mean, that's been a tool that we've used obviously through Nitehawk to deliver our summer bike camps over these last couple of years since the landslide. But again, a free opportunity. The new portable skate park that the city invested in that can move around from community to community. I mean, again, providing huge opportunities for youth that maybe can't afford to take that lesson and that are looking just to get an introduction. And you know, from a Nitehawk perspective, we've always taken that step with our school groups. We actually offer, for every 25 students, we offer one free to the school so that they can pick and choose who they want to offer that free opportunity to. As well as when we put in our tube zone, that was a way that we were able to introduce kids to the hill that maybe were either scared of skiing and snowboarding. They came out, they tubed, they're riding alongside our beginner run, seeing all their friends that were skiing and snowboarding going down the hill, and then seeing them and saying, I actually want to try that. And I think that's been such a positive spin, is trying to look at those opportunities and for just exposure and getting kids really psyched and amped up about taking part.
Yeah, thanks for that. I know, like I said in the beginning, probably the 3 of us could talk about opportunities and ways to be successful in the region in recreation, sport, tourism. And I really want to thank you for your time. There's endless opportunities. I wanted to thank Sport Connection for hosting the forum tonight. I'm looking forward to that. But really, just to both of you, I know you're passionate about the roles you play in with your paying jobs and also what you do as volunteers. And so from a tourism perspective, I think I was telling Ken, maybe Johnathan, in my opinion, Grande Prairie Regional Tourism is in the best place it's been since I've lived here. It's it's ebbed and flowed as an organization, and I know Karna put a ton of time in it as well. It's come a long way, and I think that although we're not a traditional, what people would think, tourism place, we have tons of amenities and opportunities for people to come to visit and see. And when they come here, I know you've heard it as well, when people come to Grande Prairie, they're like, wow, I had no idea. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity in the future for tourism. In regards to recreation, we definitely have an opportunity in our community. We have an opportunity to enhance and to grow and to enable youth, to put them into sport for not just for competition and not at all for competition if they don't want to, for truly the fact of being healthy. As Karna mentioned, you know, a healthy society is more contributing society. It you know, it leads to less crime. It's like getting to know your neighbor. Well, the relationships personally that I built through sport and recreation over the years. There's a friend I went to see this weekend or this summer in Whistler, and I played college basketball with her, you know, and I have so many relationships through sport and organizations such as recreational groups that are a lifetime. And that's one of the things I've been telling my kids. Okay, you may not want to play football right now, or you may want to do this, but these are the prime years in your life for that youth group to sort of build relationships, and it sets a foundation for future success. So I'll give you guys each a, 30 seconds to wrap up, but if there's anything else that I can say, is just encourage youth to get out there. And when our new activity center opens, I know that 2 of you through your organizations will be involved, but it'd be great as a community if we can just really bring in kids that aren't traditionally there, because I think there's lots of opportunities. So thank you for both your times. And Karna, anything going out of the conversation that you want people to keep in mind?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for inviting us to do this, and I gotta say that it is always just so energizing to be talking to a whole panel that agree on and totally like-minded, and I really like that. Yes, I am very passionate about the value that sport and recreation has in a community, right? For many different reasons. And I really appreciate the previous support. And like you said, back in 2014, when our sport organizations rose up and they started approaching counselors to say that we need support out in the community, and you stepped on right away and without question, because you already had that base with you, and we really appreciate that the support you've given us ever since. So thanks so much again, Jackie.
No, anytime, absolutely. And it's interesting, I just thought I'll add, one of the reasons I moved to Grande Prairie was also sport. When Rob and I were living in Kamloops, he said, do you want to, he had an opportunity to come here, and he said, do you think we should go? And I said, absolutely. And I already knew volleyball players here that I was playing in a competitive league with. So, the relationships you make through sport can lead to so many things. Johnathan?
Again, I guess, thank you, Jackie, for the opportunity to speak with you and everything this morning, and good luck in the mayoral race. And that really happy to see you putting your name forward for this. I think you've done a phenomenal job. You've been a great advocate, not only for sport, but also for tourism, and also for organizations that play a vital role in the community and bring value to the residents that call this place home. I've lived here 33 years, and I think that there's the one thing that's really made me proud to be from here, and it is the people, and it is the support that the community gives to organizations, and again, the city has been plays a vital role in that, and so have you in terms of expressing your support for that. So again, thank you so much for having us today, and again, good luck.
Absolutely, and I'll see you all tonight. Thanks for your time.
Goodbye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.